and its moderate density with infrastructure adapted for new subdivision and residential projects. This is like the subdivision plan provided by the applicant. And it shows the implementation of three row houses, 3 units on the lot, the intersection of Belle-Île and Labatture Street. The law follows all the requirements for the bylaw except for the front setback, building A, 8.80 meters instead of 7.5, 5.5. 6.5, sorry. In terms of variant, the project follows all the requirements to the bylaw except like the article 11.4b, which says under the reserve of general disposition is forbidden like to modify a building or construction. So it has to be more that is more than 6.5 meters, except like for a flag lot. In this case, the front setback is 8.83 instead of 6.5. And the situation is because where the building is located and has no impact on the neighborhood. We have plans and elevation provided by the applicant has already mentioned. The proposed project is the construction of one building with 3 housing residential units adjacent and is spread on the 2 levels. And each unit has a superficie of 1,290, floor 1, 645, floor 2 is the same thing, 645 square feet. As for the consultation, the town of Shediac, the staff is asking for a draining plan, and for the Shediac Sewer Commission, the service can accommodate the project, and the Department of Environment, they don't need any environmental impact study, and the other like provincial departments were consulted, and we did not receive any comments from them. And the bylaw was posted on the municipality website, and as of today, no comments were received. As for the 110, the project was presented to the project on December 17, 2025, and this is like the recommendation that the Southeast Planning Review Committee recommends that the council adopt bylaw Z-44-64Z to rezone the property with the PID 01049295 from R1 low density residential zone to R2 medium density zone to allow the construction of a 3 units dwelling with the following conditions: that a multi-unit dwelling be limited to 3 units, that a drainage plan must be evaluated and approved by the staff of the town of Shediac before a building and development permit is issued, that notwithstanding sections Z-14-44-64Z of the town of Shediac zoning bylaw, a maximum setback of 9 meters from Labatture Street be allowed. All the legal requirements under the Community Planning Act will be satisfied after the public hearing, and the council may decide to pursue with the adoption of the rezoning. Your options are accept the bylaws recommended by the Southeast Planning Review Committee, accept the bylaw, but modify, add, and or remove conditions, postpone or request additional information, or deny the request. So this concludes my presentation. Thanks for your attention. Thank you very much. So it gives you like the plan 360 to explain like the proposed project.
Just a small note: the English streaming is now working. The streaming, la diffusion.
English streaming is working. At least that's it. It's better late than never. At this time, I would like to give the council members, if they have any question for our planner. Our planning officer, Mrs. Janice Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 questions. So where would be the entrance? Is it on Belle-Île Street or Labatture? Belle-Île. 256 Belle-Île Street. And it's a building with a basement? No, no. Thank you.
Conseiller Paul Boudreau.
Councillor Paul Boudreau, yes. The drainage plan, so there were some challenges, like the drainage plan, is it only for this side? Because there were some draining challenges between Bellin Street and the Tipperary. So they were asking like if it was modified. So just to check, like, I don't need an answer this evening, but there was a challenge, like water was accumulated. Yes, I do not have like all the details, but definitely I can check for you. And that is not, it's a condition that will be imposed. The drainage plan, they need to have a drainage plan, an acceptable one for the staff.
I don't
know if the applicant is in the room. I would give him like the opportunity to talk about his project if he wished to do so. No, he's not here. Any members of the public would like to give their comment? We did not receive any correspondence for or against, but we always give the chance to the public to give their comments if they have some. If there's none, well, then that's still okay. And with the question of the council on this note, well, thanks for this part of the public hearing. The second part is Mr. Robichaud. So you're just relaying.
Seulement pour noter,
just to note also, the Councillor John Steve got out of the room because of might be a conflict of interest. He did it like when it was the motion, just to start the process, and he will also be absent when we discuss when we discuss this one also just after. So, Mr. Robichaud, on the 25B05. 5515. Good evening, council members. It's another rezoning request. This one is to integrated management, so it means like it's a special zone that when there's no other zone that can accommodate. So we'll see what it means exactly. So the project is located in the former LSD of Shediac Cape. It was amalgamated with the town of Shediac. And what is particular with this, the service offers by the Department of Transportation, so it's a different rural plan. So it's a close-up view of the property and the property from the Old Mill Road and also from Route 134. So we see like the property is circled in red, and it's just at the west. We have Highway 11 and Old Mill Road. It's a lot of land, about 1 acre or a little bit bigger. And these are mostly like a single family dwelling on that street. But the property in question, we see it a little bit closer. It's also like a commercial. We have the self-storage. And also like a few commercial uses that are allowed on the property. So the zoning is already zoned general commercial, and we see in the neighborhood like close to the street is residential, and we also see like the rural at the back being proposed. And this property has a long history, many rezoning. It was given to the Department of Environment, Local Government. It started in 2009. It went from a rural zone to the commercial zoning. And at the time, he wanted to do like some retail sale, build an apartment. So there were many conditions. So this type of zoning evolved, and they always added like other users they wanted to do. And in 2020 was the last zoning that was adopted by the minister at the time. And the zoning adopted had many conditions. And what's particular like for uses, and today the zone, you can do like retail sales. You could have 2 apartments. You can have self-storage. You can have offices. You can sell vehicle. And can you have accessory building and many other conditions to control the impact. So this is like the zone, what we can do today. In 2022, so a new owner bought the property. Now they're acting as realtor managers instead of operators like the businesses. They will rent those to other people, and someone has a dog grooming service, and it's in operation and it's allowed in the zoning. But what they're asking is on surplus, they would like to have a kennels, and what they want to do, it would be like a doggy daycare. They do not want like the dogs would not stay there overnight. It's only like during the day. It would be like operation at 7 o'clock until 6 p.m. So that's what they would like to do on their property.
Doggy daycare.
It's a doggy daycare. That's what it is. So these are pictures taken by Zone provided by the applicant. It shows like the context of the property. And we see the self-storage at the back, old mill, and then at the bottom, like where they would like to operate the dog daycare would be the red building here. And they will have also like a fencing space because of the building between Highway 11, try to hide a little bit like the view of the highway. So this is another view. So the dog daycare would be facing there. You see how close they are. And the picture I took like from the street to show the actual context is when you get out the property. So what we see like where's the closest house. So the challenge, why we need like a zone for integrated zone. So it's all integrated development. Everything else is allowed like in the general commission, but the doggy daycare is only allowed in the rural zone because kennels, it's something you need like bigger lots in the rural context, which is mean like the neighboring property, which are zone the rural could have a kennel, but they need a mix like a commercial zone and rural. So the integrated development would allow us to mix the two uses. So we could have something from the rural zoning and the commercial zoning. So that's why we prepare like this bylaw. It's to 25 BO 5515. It's to integrate development, to mix a general commercial and rural. So we see it as an adjustment. It's a minor adjustment that goes back to 2009 with all the modification, and we think it's reasonable like to propose the kennel due to the fact it's in a rural context and hidden from Highway 11, and the rest of the users they follow the initial intent of the rezoning. So all the other activities allowed on the property would remain the same. So yes, this rezoning, it would just allow like the doggy daycare in surplus. We consulted with many provincial departments. The only ones who provided their comments, it was the SPCA. And we had some questions. They had questions for licenses, and they did confirm like if the dogs. So because they're not staying overnight, so they don't need like a license from SPCA. But if they were a boarding kennel, they would need like a license from SPCA. Department of Transportation said only 2 access would be allowed on the property. Right now there's 3. So the third one will have to be will need the approval of the Department of Transportation. So today, like we're February 2nd, which is a public hearing. So this is important for the citizen to express their comments. And we also have a recommendation that we'll present. The next slide. And then after the public hearing, the council will continue the readings if they wish to do so. So the Southeast Planning Review and Adjustment Committee, so they're providing the formula. They recommend that the Town of Shediac Council to adopt like I will read like the conditions. following first, that the permanent uses be limited to commercial uses such as retail and the supplying of services. Residential maximum 2 units, a self-storage facility and outdoor storage, the selling of automobiles and or recreational vehicles, offices, all those things that were already allowed in the existing law. And we added another use, which is a kennel. And also like any accessory buildings or accessory structure related to the main use, like either for the kennel or storage. And the condition that the site be in general conformity with the site plan attached as Schedule A2. So there is a site plan attached to the bylaw, so they cannot do anything else than what's already in the proposed plan. So they cannot build another building except for self-storage. Commercial building would be like the same size, but all the rural plan applies, that no building or structure be located within 30 meters of the northern line of the property, that the storage of dangerous or combustible liquids or materials is prohibited, that any sign must be placed in conformity with provincial regulations, that any exterior lighting shall be installed to direct light away from adjacent lots, that a maximum of 2 entrances is permitted on the property unless approved by the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, that the area designated for kennels be confined to the space between the main building and the western property line, and that this area be screened from the public by building opaque fencing or vegetation. It's to make sure that the guideator is built between the building and the highway, and if licenses is required under the Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Act, proof of such licenses be provided. So if ever they would allow and use that needs approval of the SPCA, so they would have to be provided. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you, Mr. Robichaud. So if there were any, it's a lot of information. There's a lot of condition also for, so most of it is already there. We're adding a few. So maybe a few council members might have some questions. Councillor Patricia Beauchevallier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Phil. So you're saying they don't need any license for the SPCA? So is there like a maximum number of dogs they can have during daytime? If someone wants to bring 25 dogs, they cannot have 25 dogs, right? No, they just tell the trigger. Like if you are for like overnight boarding, you would need like a license, but the number like. So the applicant, they gave me a number they're expecting to have. That's what I wanted to say. 6 to 10 dogs. So that's what they're expecting to have more than. But that's what they're saying. It's not a regulation. That's what they are telling us. It's not a condition we can add. It would be difficult, like, to manage. Thank you. Because the planning officers, they're not like animal control officers. Councillor Janice Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few questions. So the zoning that is there right now, is there a number of businesses that could be done under the business? You got 2, 3, 4 businesses. They could have many, but it's limited, like in the existing building. You could not build like any additions and add buildings. The only exception, you could have other like self-storage at the back, but they were able to do it before, and a couple of other buildings. So there's nothing that protect like the citizen around not to have like an overnight boarding. So they could decide if there is a need, they could start with an overnight boarding with the license from the SPCA. So the proposed condition, no, nothing would protect. Technically, they could do it.
Ils font encore la chenille parce qu'ils avaient commencé à faire
So
le
they stopped
la
the
chenille
channel
avec le dézonage. Est-ce encore-
before the
est-ce qu'ils ont
rezoning.
encore-
So
est-ce qu'ils ont encore la chenille? Est-ce qu'on
is
peut-
it, do you still have the kennel? Or we heard about this. We did a follow-up and I went on site and I didn't see any proof like the kennel was in operation. And I also asked like the owner and they did confirm that if it happened before, it did not happen. Like
Hein, c'était sur Facebook. C'est dur à dire que c'était pas vrai, là, mais.
but it was on Facebook, so it's hard to say. It was a little picture on Facebook,
Là, s'il
but
y a plus rien sur Facebook, je me demandais juste si ça avait
I was just wondering like if it continued or not. I did not see.
Ok, merci.
Thank you.
Conseiller Jean-Claude Bertin.
Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin,
Tu as dit tantôt que si que ça-
you
ça-
said
on-
like
on
if it was on the other side of the street, in the same area, so
so
the- so they could keep dogs there. One side you can, and the other side you can. So if you look at the map here, like it's light green, the rural zone would allow like a kennel without any rezoning. Close to the street would not allow, but the properties behind, they would be allowed.
OK.
Yes, thank you.
Parfait. Merci, Monsieur Robichaud.
Thank you, Mr. Robichaud.
À ce moment-ci, je permettrai
At this moment, I would ask, I don't know if the applicant is in the room.
Si vous vouliez dire quelque chose.
If you wanted to say something, you have the chance, okay?
Compris l'ensemble de qu'est-ce que
I think we
vous-
understood
qu'est-ce que vous
understood
proposez
like
de
also what you're
faire.
doing.
En termes de commentaires
In
du
terms
public,
of
on avait
comments from the
reçu-
public, we see one that
Puis ça, c'était-
We received one letter.
On fait ça? Monsieur Greffier,
Mr. Clerk,
au moins faire un survol.
can you summarize it? You don't need to read it word for word.
Malgré, c'est une page.
Well, it's a page. I hadn't thought to summarize it before, Your Worship. So, the applicants have bought a property in the region. Ms. Natasha Gautreau and Mr. Gabriel Wallet, they road at Chadiac Cape. The idea was to build a property in the spring 2026, and they had invested with a view to that, but they have a kennel close to their house. So I think that the council members became aware of the letter. If I look at the opposition per se, they're saying that there's already a doggy daycare working that's operating on site, and the traffic would increase in the region. According to them, it would be something that would not be appropriate. They strongly object to that project. This is one of the letters that we received as part of this process, Your Worship.
C'est bien.
Thank you.
Donc, oh, ouais, non, c'est bon. Donc, à ce moment-ci, est-ce qu'il y
So,
avait des
at this
gens
point,
intéressants
are there
qui
anyone in the
voulaient
room
s'exprimer
who would like
sur,
to
cette
express
décision-là?
themselves on this rezoning? We do offer the opportunity to members of the public to do so. If so, please come up to the mic.
Juste vous identifier.
Please identify yourself
Demeurer.
and your region. Old Mill. The other thing is the sound of the noise from the dogs. We don't know if it's 6 dogs, 10 dogs, it might be more. And the noise and the traffic,
Qui vous inquiète.
these are things that preoccupy us. Yes, that's it.
Ça, c'était Mathieu. Mathieu.
Then Mathieu who?
Mélenchon.
Mathieu Melançon.
C'est bien.
Pardon me. Thank you.
Est-ce qu'il y avait... Parfait. D'autres,
Great.
questions
Any,
du conseil?
Council members have some questions? It's not a question, more of a comment, really.
Quelque chose qui me préoccupe,
Something that concerns me.
c'est qu'on dit oui,
If we say yes, they can do what they like.
c'est peut-être
That
6 chiens,
that
peut-être
that might be
10
6
chiens.
dogs, it might be 10 dogs, could be 40 dogs. We can't stop them.
Puis si
And
on dit oui,
if we say yes,
Donc, on vote seulement tantôt. Là.
oui,
well, we're voting in a bit.
je peux espérer de faire mon commentaire
But if you,
tantôt.
well, maybe I'll make my comment later if it leads to debate.
Je suis correct.
No, Your Worship, I'm fine.
C'est bien. C'est- Donc, à ce moment ici.
So at this point, seeing that I need a motion to close the public hearing. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Welcome again to Councillor Steves.
Je vais trouver pour mon audience. Voilà. Donc, re-bienvenue.
Well, welcome again.
Pour notre réunion régulière du 2
It's
février.
the regular meeting for February 2nd. Today is the Groundhog Day.
Je crois qu'on va aimer notre
I think we're going to like our groundhog in Shediac, Madame Quesh.
Il n'a pas vu son ombrage.
He did not see his shadow. There was no sun today.
Après consultation, comme
So, having consulted, as I put on the Facebook page, having consulted Mr. Lobster or other,
mascotte principale,
our main mascot,
il y avait pas
we
d'ombrage,
decided
donc,
that there was no shadow.
va finir
So,
vite. On-
winter might end a little faster than expected. We'll see.
Donc, premièrement, simplement,
So,
souligner encore que
I'd
les
like to highlight that we gather on the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people, whose ancestors signed a treaty of peace and friendship with the British Crown in the 1700s.
Monsieur le... avant ça, j'ai besoin d'ouvrir.
Well, before that,
la
I need to
Simplement
open the
besoin d'une
meeting.
motion pour-
I need a motion
proposée par le conseiller John Steeves,
to moved by John Steeves, seconded by Councillor Janice Cormier. All those in favor shall say aye.
Contre non.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion
Monsieur
carried.
le greffier, on peut constater qu'on a
Mr.
un
Clerk,
quorum.
we do see we have quorum.
Tout le monde est ici.
Everyone is here.
On avait une déclaration de conflit d'intérêt.
And there was a statement of conflict of interest from Councillor Steeves on item
Plus loin,
number
14.2.
14.2
Toujours.
on the agenda.
Problème, qui est pour
No
le
problem.
même rezonage
It's for the same rezoning that we just had a public hearing for.
Pour adopter l'ordre du jour.
So a motion to adopt the agenda, moved by
Maire suppléante Sylvie Colette
Deputy
Boudreau.
Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. Two Boudreaux.
Pas de votre faute.
It's not your it's not your fault.
T'aurais une
Ah.
question? T'aurais une question
You have a question?
Oui.
Yes, please.
pour l'ordre du jour?
On the agenda, on the agenda we mentioned, I'm not sure it's now the time to mention it. We're supposed to have financial reports at our meetings. Yves, I see him nodding as it's coming. It is coming. Yes, basically yes. But we just finished the first month of January. Usually we're going to wait a few months. We're going to wait for the first quarter, the first 2 months,
Parfait.
I should say.
Donc, sur ce,
So,
pour
with
adopter
that,
l'ordre du jour,
to adopt the agenda, all those shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried.
Pour adopter
There
ce
was
soir,
no minutes to adopt tonight. There was no public presentation, no reading of correspondence, and no committee reports. But we do have a CAO report. I dare say, Mr. Leger. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm excited. Big room here tonight. I hope they're all here to hear. I hope they're all here to hear my report. Well, obviously. So, as to start, as His Worship shared, it is indeed Groundhog Day, but it's also that also means that the Shediac Carnival has started, and I would recommend that you all go see on our social media on our website to see what the scheduling that what we've programmed, and I hope that you'll be able to participate in the activities that we have planned. At the last meeting, I shared that the fire hall is now. We took possession of it. We've taken possession of the fire hall after construction. We have a date for the official opening. I'll unveil it tonight. I don't have specific details as to what will happen on the very day, but we have identified a date. It will be April 26th as an opening. It's a Sunday. I would assume that the format will be similar to what we planned for before Christmas, before we're canceling it, but we'll have more details soon, and we'll share those details. So April 26th. It had been several months that there had been questions, and the resident came actually and shared some concerns around taxi accessibility after hours, after business hours, or late at night. We can share with you that we have communicated with all of the taxi companies. We shared the concerns of people. There wasn't much movement on their end, but I can announce that there is a new taxi company that just set up in Shediac. We granted the permit. It'll be granted in the next few days. This new company will be specialized in late night taxi service. That's what they mostly want to focus on. There is a company that expressed interest in establishing itself, but offering a wider range services at later hours than the others. So it's a good news story. April 7th, there'll be an open house at the Multifunctional Center. It's a day or an evening where there'll be lots of community organizations, community groups, and they will share the various information, registration. It's a great opportunity for residents to come see what is happening in the municipality. There will be a department that will be organizing that group day. A few months ago, there was a discussion about having an emergency exit on Cornwall Street. I can tell you that the file is moving forward well. We received permission from the Department of Transportation Infrastructure to create that access. We are currently drawing up the plans for the works to be undertaken. We foresee in the spring that we could start construction of that emergency access or that emergency exit in that area. And if I'm not mistaken, 23 weeks of work. Eventually, we have to come back to council with a resolution on who will be doing that work, depending on the cost, but the file is moving forward well, and the emergency exit is being planned. As you might have seen on social media last week, the sign, the 202 and 6 candles at the rec park is all the rage on Facebook, but we are in the process of making the 6. It takes a bit more time. Last year, we ordered the 4 numbers, 2025, and this year we're ordering 6, 7, 8, 9. So we'll have things handled for a few years, but it's taking a while to produce them. You have to cure it, it has to dry, then you put another coat of paint. But it's coming, it's coming. I just want to tell you it's coming. So at the last meeting, we shared that the welcome signs in the various regions to indicate the new regions of Shediac. I'm ready to share where we're putting in those signs. This is obviously what we're starting with. There are 8 signs. There will be 8 signs that will be added to our territory of Greater Shediac. In the Scoudouc area, there'll be 3 signs, in particular 2 on the 132 and 1 near Dieppe, 1 around Seaside Chevalds to indicate your entry. There'll be a third one at the entrance to the industrial park to indicate that. At Shediac Cape, there will be 1 On the 134, there'll be two on the 134. One obviously coming from the old Shediac Road from Moncton, and there'll be another one coming from Kent County, Shediac Bridge, heading towards Shediac Cape. And there'll be a third one located. It's be located on Hannington Road. Those will be the three sides. And in terms of Pointe du Chêne, there will be two. There'll be one on the Pointe du Chêne Road, near the Irving, coming down from the Irving. There'll be one there. I can't tell you the exact spot, but it'll be there. But the 133, a second on the 133, coming in from Boudreaux West. So those are the 8 signs we're working on. We said that we would share. We share the locations. The objective is to install them by April or end of April. If weather conditions allow, they'll be put in as soon as possible. But the suppliers are telling us be 4 to 6 weeks. If the weather, with the weather, you can already start to set them, put them in. There's 2 tenders. Lastly, they're going to be going out soon. First of all, it was the Main Street project, South Cove project. We already have the tender for the trunk line that's on the market, but there'll be the Main Street work for the summer and another for asphalt patching as well, quite soon, and that will be published. And that ends my report. Thank you, Mr. CAO. If you have any questions about the items that the CAO discussed, Councillor Jean-Yves Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. Speaking of taxis, it's a great news. But when we talk about taxis, hadn't we checked? We talked about checking into what other towns were doing. I think that other towns might have some bylaws that regulate taxis. Will we continue to assess this, or we don't know if the company will stay? We don't know if it'll work. They might say, well, we're doing it at night, but they get tired of it just working the day. There's more than one company that showed interest in providing services, but for right now, there's one that has undertaken the first steps, the proper steps. We're encouraged that there are people interested in offering the service, but legislatively, I'll let the clerk speak to it. In fact, the primary interest of the person who approached us, their company, they did taxi service in Moncton before. On social media, they saw lots of comments, and that's the main reason why he decided to do it. He will operate at night and mostly on the weekend as well, but even during the week. So for now, that's that. In terms of bylaws, municipal bylaws, we checked around other municipalities. There's practically no municipality. Don't quote me on this, but are the ones that we found, there's no real clauses that talk about a way to force a taxi company to offer services such and such an hour. Usually it's supply and demand. If there's demand, well, the taxi companies will try to meet their demand. So for now, that's what I can answer, Councillor Cormier. Thank you. Good.
No.
Okay.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. So, the next item, number 10, recommendations from the PRAC. This is for another rezoning request, a first public presentation to see if we are interested, if the council is interested in starting the process of a public hearing and the readings that would follow it. So, Mr. Robichaud, to you. Thank you, Your Worship. Well explained while we're here tonight. Just to see if you want to proceed to the next step. It's kind of like the preview. Yes, yes. This request is for zoning R3, a high-density zone, to allow 4 multifamily dwellings, 12, 10, and 24. The property You see it in blue on Bellevue. It's towards the back part of the street. It's aligned with Jocelyn. It's a new street in that section. It's an aerial photo. The Rue Jocelyn is practically inaudible. You see it's a bit further south of Bro Bridge, where the roundabout was built. So that's it's a street view photo from Bellevue Street. From Bellevue Street, it's mostly single-family dwellings in that sector, but on the Jocelyn side of things, behind the property, you typically see row houses. So the current property is zoned R2, that allows a maximum of 6 units, and most of the neighboring properties are in the same zoning. But a few years ago, the council adopted another zoning request to go to R3 for 3 buildings of 12 units, and the council considered a new rezoning request for more multifamily dwellings. We see that it's a sector that's seeking to be further densified. So the buildings proposed are 2-story buildings, 10 units. It's not the classic model with patios outside. This model is the steps are inside, and the buildings on the you have access from them inside the building. So this is the 12-unit version. It's longer, and it's the same thing but a bit longer. It's a mix of 2 bedrooms and 1 bedroom that is being proposed. So here's a location plan. You see Jacques Street towards the bottom part of the screen and Bellevue to the upper part of the screen. And what they want to do, they want to build a new public street that will connect Jacques Street and Bro Bridge together. So with Jocelyn, it would create another way to access Bellevue, and on each side of the lot, they want to subdivide the lot and use the lot. The left is where they want to do the 12 units, and the right, they want to do the 12 unit in the front and the 24 unit in the back. So that's why their request was prepared for R3. I've already mentioned this. Is to say that the R2 allows for a maximum of 6 units. R3 doesn't put a limit on the number of units, but given the surrounding conditions, it could create conditions. And given in terms of consultations, we spoke with the Department of Environment, who didn't have a lot to offer, but the Sewer Commission said that with the existing infrastructure, that the project could be accommodated, so the trunk line would not be necessary. And the town of Shediac confirmed that the project would not be require the presence of the trunk line. The Bro Bridge would apply on the lot, and the rest of the construction of the street and the typical standards would apply. The Environment Department also said that it's a rain zone, but I think that the Shediac identified another well, but that's the less strict zone, since there wasn't concerns that were raised with the development. So it's not an issue according to them. So in conclusion, it's a sector that has a lot of large vacant lots. And the development in the municipal plan does orient us towards more density for that sector. The infrastructure seemed to be able to accommodate it, and Jocelyn Street would create a new connection to the town of Shediac. So your options are to proceed to the public hearing, no decision made tonight, just set a date for a public hearing and explore the file further, or you can refuse the request tonight, or you can postpone it for later and seek out further information. If you go to public hearing, the recommendation of the committee would be February 25th, and the public hearing would be March 16th. For the zoning, and the file could be completed. Thus ends my presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. Robichaud. Questions on the information on our city planner, Councillor Joël Després. I'd like to read it if there are no questions. Oh, yes, I do need to read it before moving to questions. I'm still stuck in my public hearing. I have a question as well. 10.01Z 14-44-66Z. Whereas Council has received a request to change the zoning of the properties identified by PID 0107244446 and 70323068 from the medium density residential R2 to high density residential R3 to allow the construction of 4 multi-unit dwellings. Therefore, be it resolved that Council review the file to determine whether it is in the public interest to amend the zoning bylaw. Be it also resolved that the clerk, on behalf of Council, requests the opinion of the Southeast Planning Review Committee pursuant to Section 110 of the Community Planning Act by March 9th, 2026. Be it further resolved that the clerk, on behalf of Council, arrange for public notice of the proposed bylaw amendment in accordance with Section 111 of the Community Planning Act, and that a public hearing be scheduled for March 16, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the Council chamber to hear comments from the public to the proposed bylaw. I so move. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Questions on this, Mr. Després? My question, Your Worship, is it for Phil? No, don't make it a debate, or should it wait till the next meeting? I would have a question for the development officer. I would say it's one of the options that we can do is wait, to push it back, to ask that, to do that. We just need to table the motion. That's if there's a majority. No, that's not my question. It's just a general question related to my concerns around this project. Would it be for now, or should I wait for the next meeting? You can ask questions for clarification. If it's a question of debate, that's something we'd be doing during the reading. I'll wait for the next meeting then. Councillor Ronald Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. A question for clarification, Phil. They want to make a street from Jocelyne. There's no street there right now. From Jocelyne to Bellevue. So when you look at this, he seems to want to unblock, or is it to block or unblock? Maybe I'll go back a bit here. Inaudible. So, Simon Gala, you see it here in Rue Jacques, they're done, and Jocelyne Street, it already exists here, and what would be new would be to extend Jocelyne Street so that it cuts through the property, and it would head out towards Bellevue. That's what I'd understood. So that's the objective here, and the owner is ready for that, to do that. Okay, that's what I understood. I just want to make sure. Great. It's good to see it visually. That's why I asked the question, Your Worship. Great. Councillor Peter Breau, question? Yes, Your Worship. It's basically the same kind of viewpoint as Councillor Cormier. So this street, will it be the street that will be developed in front of the school? No. No. That would be, that project would be as up from Ohio to Bellevue, but much higher, a lot higher up. If it is done very close to the highway, this is not quite there. Could you show roughly? You have a big map.
So, s'il y aurait la rue, là,
So if the street were there for the school's here.
La rue va,
So if you extend that entrance, it would be up there. So you can see
la rue proposée,
Oui,
puis le-
you can see where the proposed street would be.
Est-ce que au niveau du trafic, est-ce que
So
vous
in termes of
prenez
traffic,
considération
have you taken into
que-
consideration that eventually there'll be an exit
en avant d'école?
in front of the school?
Ils sont pas mal loin une de
They're
l'autre.
quite far from each other.
Comme typiquement,
So,
plus d'entrées, plus de
typically,
connexions,
more
plus
entrance and
de
connections you make
plus de
gives you more
connectivité,
options and more connectivity.
améliore les options
It
aux personnes.
improves the options to people.
C'est pas que ça
It's not that
c'est pas en train d'intersecter. Alors,
it's not intersecting.
considération
So it wasn't taken into consideration for in terms of that new entrance.
les gens pourraient descendre.
Where the people could go down, go down the hill to do Brobridge.
L'autre rue, c'est
The other,
c'est une possibilité
street,
que ça se fait, mais
it's
c'est
possible
pas
to do
demain
it,
non plus, là.
but it's not happening tomorrow.
Bonne question.
That's a good question.
Madame la suppléante.
Madam Deputy Mayor, thank you, Your Worship. You said something, and I'm not going to say the right terms because I've forgotten. You said something about frontage-free Brobridge, the development charge. So it could, that could come into the equation here, potentially. There's nothing set in stone yet. We're still doing analyses, but it's something that was brought up as something to consider. So the owner of the lot would have to pay.
Monsieur
Yes.
le directeur général a un
Mr.
information.
CAO has some information. Obviously, we don't have the policy or the framework in place yet. We're waiting to come to council this month to present and do the analysis with all the development charge zone. I'm not certain that we're ready to say if that will be in there or not. We're going to let Watson, they were hired to do the analysis for us. It could be subject to a development charge if we wanted to include it. I remember now, as you're mentioning it, I remember at some point it had been mentioned, I don't remember where, but by cluster, so that it's not just people who live there, it's just the people right next. The zone that I've identified, and any development within that zone would be subject to a development charge that would exist for that zone, if there were development, or that might exist.
We don't know like what type of development that will be done, but if it's R2, it's a certain numbers of door. If it's R3, it's another like amount, like per door. Like depending on the density, there is an analysis that will have to be done, and the owner who decides like to develop this lot will know like how much, what the possible fees will be, and of course in the future, and not for the past. It's kind of stupid, but I cannot say if this property will be part of this, but we have to share this as a comment, because when they come in, because nothing has been adopted yet. Once a policy is adopted and a bylaw on the development charge zone, it will be more clear, like more in line to say like, yes, it's part of it. And the sooner the better. But this is the zone we're looking at. Thank you very much. Perfect. Councillor O'Brien, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to be clear, are the development charges and frontage fees? It's a little bit different. Like it's almost the same, but not quite. So the part of the street, like being developed by the developer, does it mean like there will be some development fees or frontage fees on this part of the street? I don't know, because we do not have any agreement or subdivision agreement with the owner to see what will do. Cannot share or protect like that, because when it's built if the town like starts the construction, we have to look at this issue. But usually like the town does not build street, the development is done by by the developer.
Est-ce qu'il y a des opportunités que des-
Are there
des-
opportunities that sometimes the street
bâti par la
would be built like the municipality?
On-
Absolutely,
Bridge,
like
par exemple,
Bridge, for example.
Pour cette propriété ici, on
So
peut
for
pas
this
dire,
property, we cannot say like what will happen exactly because the zoning hasn't been accepted yet.
Et puis si je peux ajouter une des
And if I
conditions
may
de
add, like
démarche
one
qui
of the
sont acceptées,
conditions for the
ça serait de
rezoning, if
faire
it's adopted, it would be like to have a subdivision
avec la
agreement
municipalité. Alors,
with the municipality.
il y a rien qui pourrait être fait avant qu'on
So
ait cette-
nothing could be done before the subdivision agreement is done. We always do like a subdivision agreement with any development. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
est au courant de ça.
Is the developer
On a
aware of
été
this?
honnête avec le développeur
We
sur
were
qu'est-ce
honest
qui
with the
peut
developer, so what could
Mais
possibly
on peut pas
happen, but
conclure une entente sur-
we cannot conclude an agreement like if it's on something that
Ouais, monsieur le maire,
did not happen yet.
si que la
So
municipalité
the point I want to make, if the municipality is aware that we might want to go there, I think in terms of transparency, we have to be transparent to our developer and here, probably that
just in case.
Ah ouais.
just in case,
Moi,
like
je voudrais pas qu'un
I wouldn't
développeur
want like to see a developer
investir
would invest
son argent.
his or her money
Peut avoir une surprise.
C'est ça.
and then have a
Ils veulent
surprise.
investir en savant que ça
If
va
they
pas
want to
faire,
invest
ça, c'est
as
une chose.
might come,
Mais si qu'il sait pas,
that's coming. But if the developer is not aware, certainly the developer will say we were not aware,
Puis
we
là, on va
shouldn't
se
pay,
prendre dans
and then
une bataille de policiers.
will be in a battle. So just give them the information. Mr. Director of Economic Development is aware.
Puis je peux vous dire-
He will do what he needs to be done, and I'm sure any development happening in this area,
Ils savent qu'il y a
they
potentiellement
know
des
like possibly like there could be some development
Qu'est-ce que le
charges.
montant, qu'est-ce que ça nous semble
What's
convenable?
the amount that looks, we do not have the framework yet. And once we have the framework, it will be presented to the council and we adopt it. There might be some adjustment and we will not reinvent the wheel and we'll say like it will be based on the professional, but the professional will give us options.
All right. Donc,
So-
sur la motion,
On this note,
tous en faveur en diront oui.
all in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay,
Adopté, merci.
it's been carried. Thank you.
Procédera avec une audience publique.
So we'll proceed like with the public hearing.
Nous n'avons rien aux affaires non
We have
terminées.
nothing under unfinished business and nothing under new
Soir,
business for
mais,
this evening.
numéro 13, on a
But
toujours
13,
l'opportunité
we
pour-
always have the opportunity for the council members to ask for a question on items that were not on the agenda.
Vous en avez?
If you have any questions or comments,
Je vois pas. Je vois pas d'allumé, je vois pas de lumière qui s'allume.
I see no lights
Voilà.
on my little screens.
J'ai tout étendu vos choses pour ça. Non, non. Il est blessé. Anyway.
Yes,
Pas grave. On a assez de débats qui vont venir de
I think we will probably have enough debate. Like let's go to the next 14.1, which is Z 1444/64Z. Essentially, it's the first the first two readings. Sorry for the rezoning on the corner of La Battue and Belle-Île.
Simplement besoin de quelqu'un pour.
We need someone to read. Mrs. Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 14.1 Z-14-44-64Z readings. It resolved that the introduction of a bylaw entitled Bylaw Z-14-44-64Z, a bylaw amending the Town of Shediac zoning bylaw, be approved and read the first time by its title. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau,
Jean-Claude Bertin.
by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Questions on the motion?
Si on est tous en faveur, on dira oui.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Non.
Against nay.
Adopté.
Carried.
Monsieur le greffier.
Mr. Clerk,
Arrêté numéro Z.
bylaw Z-44-64Z, bylaw modifying the zoning Z-14-44 of the Town of Shediac. That we adopt the first reading Z-14-44 by its title. Moved by Sylvie Colette Boudreau and seconded by Jean-Claude Bertin. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Non.
Against nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried.
Qu'il soit résolu que l'arrêté
Be it resolved that the Z44Z modifying the town of Shediac be reading a second time by its title, moved by Deputy seconded by Jean-Claude Bertrand.
En faveur,
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Contre, non.
Against, nay.
Adopté. Monsieur le
Carried.
Arrêté numéro Z,
Bylaw Z 4464Z, a bylaw modifying the zoning bylaw Z-44 of the town of Shediac.
et qu'on accepte la deuxième
That
lecture
we adopt like the second reading of the said 1444-64 by its title, moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boutreau, seconded by Jean-Claude
Tous en
Bertin.
faveur, on dira oui.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Non.
Against, nay.
Adopté.
Motion, it's been carried. Thank you.
Moi ici, je note que le conseiller.
At this time, I know that Councillor John Steve will
de la salle.
be getting out of the room. And for,
Ici, c'est pour le rezonage,
so this one is for the rezoning
BEO
25 BO 5515,
Première lecture.
the first two readings.
Sur la Old Mill Road.
It's on the Old Mill Road,
Question
like
d'ajouter,
the matter of adding like the kennel activity, doggy daycare.
simplement besoin
I would need someone
d'une motion pour
motion.
commencer ça, puis ensuite avoir un débat.
to start this and then have a debate if there is one. Councillor Janice Cormier, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the introduction of a bylaw entitled Bylaw 25-BEO-55-15, a bylaw amending the Beaubassin West Rural Plan, number 16-BEO-055 of the town of Shediac, be approved and read a first time by its title. I shall move, Mr. Mayor.
Janice Cormier.
Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by
O'Brien.
Councillor Emile O'Brien.
Question.
Questions?
Toi, tu étais juste en préparation, là? OK. Conseiller Roland. Non,
Eh,
ça, c'était droit. Non.
No.
Conseiller Roland Cormier.
Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Qu'est-ce que j'ai dit?
I will continue
Oui,
to
allez-y.
what I started
J'espère.
on this matter.
J'ai deux enjeux qui
I have two issues that concerns me.
Le premier enjeu,
The first issue,
c'est oui,
if we say
faut
yes,
pas limiter.
we cannot limit like the number of
Ça,
dogs.
ça me préoccupe.
So it's a
Faut qu'on
concern
dise
to me.
oui,
Once we say yes,
limiter.
we cannot limit like the
L'autre
number.
chose qui me préoccupe, c'est qu'il n'y a pas de règlement.
Another thing that concerns,
On dit oui, que
if we say yes,
ça peut être extensionné à
it could be extended like to a doggy daycare.
Moi, je vais l'appeler un doggy night care.
I will call it a doggy night care. So I apologize like for the word, for the official term, but
Pour ces deux raisons-là, Monsieur le Maire,
for
moi,
those
je
two
vais
reasons,
pas
I will not be voting
ce amendement,
for this
rezoning.
for this rezoning
C'est pas correct,
because I think
c'est pas
it's
correct aux citoyens de la
it's not
région.
okay like for the citizen
Moi, je
of the
voudrais
region.
pas,
I wouldn't want like
un déplacement de même
an-
au Tichy
I wouldn't want a business like that beside my
pour
house
les mêmes raisons.
for the same reason.
On pourrait le
If we
structurer
could
différemment.
structure it differently,
Je serais pas ouvert à
I'm not saying I wouldn't be open to look into this, but as we say, if you open like the valve, you cannot close it anymore. So I'm concerned with this.
Merci,
Thank you, Councillor Cormier.
C'est à la suite de qu'est-ce que M.
It's following like Mr. Robichaud said, and you can tell me like if I understood it properly or not.
voulait du night care,
If you wanted like a night care, like we understand what we mean.
un permis de la part
So
de
you would need like a license from ICCA.
Ça, il réglemente ça, j'imagine.
So there's some regulation.
Mais pour le, c'est faux. Ça veut dire que le propriétaire doit.
It means like the owner-
Ces démarches-là.
We need to do the process, but Mr. Mayor,
Non, ça revient
it does not come back here. So
Une fois qu'on a dit oui,
once we say yes, that's it.
on a rouvert la valve.
We open the valve, right?
On se comprend.
Juste m'assurer
Non,
que
non.
qu'on-
I just want to make sure like you understood.
Je suis d'accord avec ce que tu dis.
because I agree with what you're saying too,
Ouais,
but
Mathieu Hugo est
my-
complètement-
C'est ça, merci.
C'est ce que
no,
je voulais.
yeah, I wanted to make sure, because sometimes it's just the way like we understood or not understood. Anything you would like to ask, Mr. Robichaud, like to clarify, just to be clear, like even today you're not voting on the conditions. If you ask me specifically, like what are the methods like to administer like overnight board, I could get some information and come back with the conditions that could possibly be manage this, but it's something I can go back if you ask me, something we're looking for.
Merci bien.
Thank you.
Autre question, commentaire.
Any other questions?
Merci,
Councillor
Monsieur.
Janice Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
J'ai les mêmes préoccupations
I
que
have the same concern like than Councillor Cormier.
À croire qu'on va rester à 5
Um, I can hardly believe they will stay for 5 to 7 dogs, because if their demand is there, because a business like that can make good money depending on the size they have. It's almost like a daycare, like a 15, it's almost for 15 dogs you get a person, or it's a system similar like to the daycare system for persons. And also, from what I saw on social media, so the owners, they still had like a part of October, November, they got a kennel without, they operated it without, I think, the rezoning. So I'm not confident that it will be well limited and managed. So I will not support this request.
Councillor Harry McElroy.
Councillor McElroy.
Thank you, Mayor. We already have a dog's breakfast of activity on that site, and to me, that speaks to the helter-skelter way that over the years rezonings have been sought and approved, and various and different uses have ended up on the lands. It's not, in my view, something that a proper planning process would generate. And given that we're in the midst of, or at least commencing our municipal development plan review, it seems to me that we should be cautious about changes that we make to the current plan. People who want changes are aware that we're coming in with a new plan. Rezoning requests, I expect, will increase the closer we get to adopting a new plan. And in fairness to the people in the neighborhood, and in fairness to everyone in Shediac, we should more or less stay with what we have. There will be some exceptions. I understand that, but generally speaking, I think when our municipal development plan process is underway, you have to be careful, or we should, at least in my view, be careful about the changes that we make. The dog issue, we also have to defer to the concerns of residents in the area. I know that not in my backyard is a common concern with a lot of developments, but if you think if we lived on that street, we wouldn't be wanting it in our backyard. And my limited experience with dog, whether it's a day care issue or a kennel, is they are a nuisance to the neighborhood, and I think that we should respect the wishes and the quiet and peaceful enjoyment of the properties that the people who have nearby have, to the extent that we can. And for those reasons, I'll be voting against the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Conseiller Joël Després.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Très bon commentaire qui a été
Very good comment, like around the table. And I second all of the comments. I would just like to add, over the last couple of years, like we see more and more like dog grooming and daycares, but people buy some dogs. But I think there's probably like better spots than better than the rural area. I have one in Skoduk, and it started small, and now it can expand quite quickly. And there's some noise coming with this, so it's for the same reason I will be voting against this evening.
Merci, Conseiller Després.
Thank you, Councillor Després.
Conseillère Patricia Bourg-Chevalier.
Councillor Patricia Bourg-Chevalier. Thank you, Miss. I asked a question, and I was told nobody will police this. So could have animals there at night and nobody would be aware, as it was done in the past. as it was indicated on Facebook. Well, it will not be like our bylaw officer who will take care of this. Well, of course, so we're not the intent like to give like the license to have an overnight kennel, if it's what we're using, would be the SPCA. But if we had a complaint or we would be aware of the situation, well, of course, we would forward the complaint to SPCA and they would do the investigation. But it's not up to us like to give the license. It's not our resources. Yes, in this situation, if ever like citizen call here, so we forward them to the SPCA, so there's nothing we can do. Thank you.
Councillor O'Brien.
Councillor Emile O'Brien. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will go with the recommendation of Plan 360. So they did their work and they think it's not a big thing like to add this use. And also for the simple reason, there's so many dogs now, like young couples, like they don't have children anymore, it's dogs. So I'm just saying it as a joke, but it's true, but even like this, like, there's not enough, and we have to encourage like the people who want to do it, either a daycare or night care, and we should encourage. I will support this request, mostly because the recommendation for 360, so they're doing their work, and it should add a couple of points. Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Seeing no other question, I will call the vote. So I will ask to raise your hand. So we have the motion moved by Councillor Janice, seconded by Councillor Emile. It's for the first reading. All in favor, raise your hand. To adopt the rezoning. 1, 2, 3, 4. Against, raise your hand. 7 against. So the first reading has been defeated, so it will not proceed with the other readings. So this rezoning request was processed. Thank you. Now we can ask Councillor Steves to get back inside.
Au numéro 15, nous avons
15, for 15.1, like the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board.
Monsieur le DG.
Mr. CEO, I will present, but of course, if the finance director have to fill in some blanks, she will be able to help me. Essentially, like we got the debenture, we got the authorization, like to borrow from the New Brunswick Borrowing Capital Borrowing Board, but there's part of the projects that we're getting some funds, either for the PMHP or we are using like the new capital renewal fund that, so we're using the, so we have to borrow like money like in the meantime for this amount for, so our resolution is essentially, it's our authorization. Is giving us like the authorization like to do the, and there are some amount like we will have like to cancel because we will be getting some funding. So the Capital Borrowing Board did not feel comfortable like to, they would feel more comfortable if we had a resolution to get like by interim financing for the amount we will get in with other revenues like not to borrow. So the resolution you have in front of you is essentially like the language, and I think it was moved by the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board. So we just recommend that the council adopt this resolution that will allow like to get the interim funding for the one that was granted. Thank you.
Chevalier?
Councillor Patricia Bouk-Charivari, and the interpreter does not have like the resolution. Municipal Capital Borrowing Board, be it resolved that the municipality of Shediac, according to the Borrowing Act, Capital Borrowing Act, by the municipalities, asks to the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board through the municipality the authorization to borrow for capital expenses for the amount service transport-related services, reconstruction of Main Street, interim funding for a 3 years duration for the amount of $2,061,000. Be it resolved, be it further resolved that the treasurer be authorized on behalf of the town of Shediac to negotiate provisory funding for the general capital fund according to the authorization given by the Corporation of Municipality of Brunswick. I shall move by Patricia Bouk-Charivari, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. Questions on the motion? 3 years? Isn't it a bit long? No, because at the end of the day, like the interim funding, usually like once we get the approval we're giving like we have like 3 years before to start the work. So I presume like they're using the same 3 years to get the funding, like the interim funding. So it's always like the year you're applying, like construction, and then you have the year there's always holdbacks and so it's converted. It's something, some money we might borrow for a very short time because we could might have make some requests like for the government, but we still need to borrow this money to pay before we get the reimbursement through other means. But the capital renewal fund, like the capital infrastructure renewal fund, I think we have this directly deposited into our account. It's a separate account. Yes, the finance director is saying the PMHC, the provincial municipal highway for the secondary roads, we're receiving an amount for this project, and I presume like we have to do the expense, and then we'll be reimbursed. Councillor Paul Boudreau, question. So the total of the projects, how much is it? 12 million. To King to South Coast. It's only part of the South Coast. So this is the Route 133. So that's a provincial route. What is the contribution from the province? 1.5 million from the province. Saying that's it. So the project does not include like Main to South Cove because the South Cove is being redone. So the part of Main to South Cove and South Cove to Greenwood or Main Street to Greenwood is also being done. I don't have the exact amount. I don't know if Fred has the breakdown, but I'm a little bit deceived. It's only like 1.5 million, 10% only. Usually it includes, like it does not include like the payment of the pipes for water and sewer. It's not part of these ones. And the big part of the project, the South Coast, it's a water and sewer like that loops, and a big amount also is invested there. Really, it's only like the part the public sees, like from the South Cove to Main, where we can get some funding. And so the timeline. So what's the deadline?
L'échéancier espéré?
The expected timeline, 75% of the design is complete. So we do not have like a deadline, or it should be done in one season. It should not overflow to next year. So the Bow Bridge will Bow Bridge be done before? That's something we're looking to have it like, because they're part of the work, we have to block Main Street to have one lane only. So once we do this, we want to make sure like the Bow Bridge will be unblocked. Will be open again. So that's why we have this Bow Bridge section. Will be very useful. Not only this year, but the subsequent years.
Ça, c'est une des choses qu'on a du
So one thing, like once we have funding, like for secondary roads in the province, but they take care of the asphalt. They don't take care of all the piping, sidewalks. It's not on the provincial, the roads maintained by the province. All in favor, signify by saying aye, against nay.
Adopté.
It's been carried. Thank you.
Numéro 15.2.
15.2, Pascal Poirier House.
Tu voulais donner? Ouais. On va faire
Wanted to give, we'll do a little bit of context.
Background,
A background.
Quelque chose que je crois qu'il y a quelques gens dans ça, ils sont
I think a few people in the room are interested. So
Pour donner un petit peu d'historique.
just to give you like a little bit of history, and I think a lot of you, like you're familiar with the history of the Pascal Poirier House, but the Pascal Poirier House was given to the municipality by the Mer Rouge Society in 2001. From 2001 to 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a variety of different programs that happened in that house. Either a museum, especially like local, so to rent, or activities. So the municipalities did its best, like to maintain some kind of programming. But in 2020, like with the pandemic, the building had to close, and hasn't reopened since up to Tuesday. So during this time, we had a few reports were proposed to the council. One that was done internally that identified the type of repairs that needed to be done. And I was talking like it was a report from October 2020, and a study a little bit more specialized was done by Design Plus Architecture. And I included those two reports in your documentation. So the report for 2022 for Design Plus, they had the goal like to analyze the condition of the house in order to reopen as a museum accessible to the public. But at the time, like the renovation costs, they were estimated about 483,000. And since that time, there were no like commitment from the municipality on what to do with the building. But in the development of the strategic planning, it was decided that the municipality had to look into a vocation or mandate for the Pascal Poirier House before knowing what type of investment like needed to be done. Within like the strategic planning, an inside committee was created, and they started like a few steps in order to try to give a recommendation to the council how to proceed with this house. One of the four processes, well, the first one was to see a series of targeted consultation with different groups, different stakeholders in the community who have an interest to see and hear and what they had to say. And we hired Accent Strategies, and you have it in your package, like a copy of the report we received in January. And this report summarized the discussion, and they're also giving some possible solutions could follow. And we did a public survey because we want to make sure like the population in general had the opportunity to share their comments. So when we get out to Pascal Poirier House, you have to apologize. It said 130 individual, but it was over 180 when we fill in the online survey. That's a mistake. So we consulted over 50 groups, over 180 residents, citizens. They shared their comments about the house. And it was important for us also to update the report that was given in 2022 to estimate how much it would cost to upgrade the building with a vocation that would be similar. And they came back with a value of $693,000, over $210,000 more than the last report that was presented. And we evaluated all those information. We look at the possible options to recommend. In terms of financial consideration, I can tell you right away, the council invested an amount of $10,000 per year for the maintenance. The regular maintenance, either like snow removal, lawn mowing, insurance, heating, etc.
We spent that last year with the leak in the roof, but usually that's the amount that we put in the budget. As it's already been shared, there are currently no amounts in the 5-year plan that foresee a potential renovation of Pascal Poirier House. But if the council were to want that, it could appear there. A few general comments in terms of the process. I can tell you that the consultation process led to an awakening amongst the people who want to see a renewal, a project, some sort of project on the side of the Pascal Poirier House. There are people and groups who have approached us with specific proposals to perhaps do something. We have told them that we're not ready to go there yet because we have to present to the various results of our analysis to the council. But there were many different ideas expressed, many different potential options, many different projects that could take place on the side of the Pascal Poirier House. As cited in the report by Accent Strategies, they see that the dialogue that's happening between the various groups, that should continue. It should even go deeper. That's why we're putting out the following recommendation. We don't see that the municipality, for the moment, should renovate the building. What are we renovating exactly? What is the mandate? What is the vision? We see that we should go to the population, we should go see the groups that are interested, and they should submit their ideas. What do they see as a possible use for the Pascal Poirier House, with specific plans, business cases, business plans that would tell the municipality what could be done. What would you like to see at the Pascal Poirier House? I can tell you that people have approached us. And they would perhaps like to see the building demolished and have something else there. Others have shared that they might want to renovate the building. Others have shared that they want to take the building as is. I think that it's worth, given the dialogue that we've already started, to go further and deepen the dialogue, but make it more structured. That's why we're recommending to the council that you go and that you proceed to an RFP process to hear the potential options, and there the council can decide what's the best project based on the council's vision. But it's for sure that as you use that mechanism, the council can put in some conditions. We want to maintain the historic aspect of the house, maintain the history of Pascal Poirier, to better direct the type of project they'd like to see, but it will allow in an open and transparent way to different groups to submit ideas as to what there could be on the site and with the Pascal Poirier House. Staff, well, we've looked at all the options. Be it a complete renovation. Well, what's the purpose of a full renovation, though? That's what was always our challenge, the why of it. A demolition, why would we demolish it? A renovation with a group? It seemed to be the most plausible approach, perhaps, because there are people interested there. That's why we're seeking information, we're seeking interested groups, they're interested in submitting ideas, but also with conditions. It's not just a question of providing an idea. We're ready to invest in the project, ready to see to a certain level of management, and then the council can determine if there is a financial commitment or what type of commitment there could be with the group or the proposal that is preferred. It might not be what the specific people are seeking, but we're seeing it as the most open and transparent way for council to proceed with all of the various groups that have approached us now, the various ideas that could potentially be around Pascal Poirier House, while maintaining the history and the and stay at the heart of what the building means and what it could become. Thank you for that, Mr. CAO, for that summary. It's a great. There's a lot there. Councillor Paul Boudreau, would you like to read it? I'd like to read it and have comments after. I'd like to read it. Whereas part of the strategic 2025-2027 strategic plan, the Territorial Committee has been formed to provide recommendations to the Council regarding the purpose and future of Maison Pascal Poirier. Be it resolved that Mr. Council accept the administration's recommendation to issue a request for proposals to entrust the site to an organization or group seeking to develop a project to preserve and enhance Maison Pascal Poirier. Be it further resolved that the request for proposals specify the future purpose of the site, the remediation work required to preserve its historical character and showcase the legacy of Pascal Poirier, as well as the commitment to manage the site once the work is complete. I so move, and I have questions for after. Moved by Councillor Paul Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Patricia Brooke-Chabary. Any questions, Councillor Boudreau? I read the whole report. Yves, thank you. Thank you for your summary. I'd like to thank the people who answered the survey. Very interesting. I read it from one end to the other. It was a good representation of the citizens. I'd like to thank the consultants. There's lots of variety there, and they did a great job. I'd like to thank the committee members internally and with staff. Thank you very much. I agree with the recommendation. But you're proposing an RFP. Is there a specific deadline around that? And the analysis of the RFP and the recommendation to council? Is it a month? We'd have to write the RFP based on what we want to achieve in terms of a timeline. You can't turn this around in 2 weeks for a group that might be interested potentially. We're ready to speed things up on our side to make an RFP, but we think it would be wise to leave some time period so that interested groups can put their best foot forward to make their presentation and make a solid one. I don't have a specific date, but it'll be more than 15 days. And I'd say roughly 30 business days at least, but I'd have to consult to get a recommendation to see what might be standard within this type of RFP you're looking for. You referred just now to groups, many groups that seem to be interested. Are there many groups that are interested? There is one group in particular that has approached us more than once, but I can tell you that there are other groups that have approached us with other projects as well. Perhaps more private, perhaps less in terms of what you're looking for, because you can at least hear those ideas to see what's being proposed, and if you're not fine with it, based on the scoring system that we'll establish, ultimately, it's important for everyone who was surveyed or consulted to maintain the prestige of who was Pascal Poirier and what the house meant. But I can tell you, there are different approaches that can be taken. Some groups see the house as need to be renovated as is. Others think that part of it must have to be renovated as is. There's a group that shared, well, could we move it elsewhere? There are groups that didn't share, but I have a sense that they might want to demolish it to do residential or commercial projects. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that the council would want to go there, but it would give if there an upper project can meet all the criteria, and if the council would want to go there, there would be options. Based on the words in the motion, we're looking for the purpose. If you start to receive demolition proposals, it goes so it goes against the motion as presented. Here we're looking at the vocation. Certainly, if there are proposals to demolish it, it goes against the motion that we have before us. Absolutely. There's a group that proposed something to the town. Is that still valid? We shared that with the group when they submitted to their presentation that we wanted to close out the process that had already been started. But if it is the desire of council, they could explore that motion. But we would recommend more that perhaps the group should participate in the process as listed. And if they have the best interests, if they have the best ideas, if they have the best purpose, if they have the best project that is presented, the council could pick them. According to us, it's how you do an open and transparent and how do you an open and transparent process when more than one person has approached you. One group might have spoken louder or more than the others, but I think that as municipality you have to treat everyone equally, the same, and to give them an opportunity, and we can't discourage them either. My last point, one thing has to be clear in this motion. It says that the town is seeking the purpose of the house and the renovation work required. I'm sure that there should be partners. The future group, the vocation should not be responsible for the cost of renovations. The town has a responsibility for facilities, be it recreation or whatever. It's our role to maintain it. We haven't played that role for the last 5 years for various reasons. I would like to see that your RFP, call it as you will, that does not include that the community group be responsible to raise $100,000, $200,000, $600,000. It's our role to do it. 2 weeks ago, we voted for $200,000 for pickleball surfacing and tennis surfaces. It's good that we did it. The Pickleball Association, Tennis Association will benefit from it. We played a role in maintaining that facility, and we continue to do it for all our facility. We should take our lessons in terms of what has happened for the last 5 years, 6 years. Just to close out, thank you for your patience, dear council members. A last comment, ultimately a suggestion, given that this is a file that will lead to a lot of dialogue and communication between the town and the nonprofit group, it would be good to have a council member acting as a liaison councillor. When it's part of a project, there's big expenses, programming with the department. I'm not sure to raise it with Julie or not. That's what would be my recommendation. Once again, congratulations to council members, consultants as well. I'm anxious to see what the next steps are. That's all for me. Thank you for your comments. After a selection through an RFP, there'd be an agreement to develop. Depending on who it would be, your agreement might have different objectives. So you do it. And one of the things could be a liaison with those people. It's a good idea. Other questions? Councillor Janice Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. Am I entitled to answer this question around the deadline? And you said 30 days, Mr. Léger. Is it really realistic in terms of where we're heading with the RFP, that it's this council that will make the selection for its future? I know that we want deadlines.
On veut quand même, tu sais, puis je veux pas, je suis pas dire je pousse ça.
I'm not saying that I want to push it back to the next council, but we want to give time for have good RFPs. You want to have people that have time to develop things properly and that we give solid proposals. I'd be really discouraged if we push this too quickly and you have solid ideas. No idea. Is it realistic? I just want to put expectations properly here. I just want to be transparent. Is it realistic that it'd be this council that will decide on what will happen? Or do we foresee that it'd be the next council that will make the final decision? It's February 2nd, and I don't want to lead anybody astray. I can tell you that our objective would be that this council would make the decision, but I'm not ready to make a recommendation with a set date, because as I've shared with in terms of the timelines, the traditional minimum of 15 days is not appropriate to get good ideas. I would prefer be more generous to get good proposals. I can tell you that until a decision is made with a group or a potential project, we take up our duty to house it very carefully. We make sure there's good maintenance on the building, make sure it's protected. We don't just want a decision, we want the right decision. Just like you. If you ask me tonight, can it be done? I will say yes, but I'm doing it without any education around this. The council could go in a completely different direction tonight. I think that over 15 days, 30, is it 30 days? Is it 60 days? I don't know. I feel like I have to come back before council. So to manage those expectations, I think that what's important here is that is this the process you want to follow? If it's really this council that wants to do it, we'll do it. But there will certainly be things that might be a little less filled in terms of details. Madam Deputy Mayor, I'm a bit confused in terms of this word of purpose. You spoke of the RFP. You said a lot. Now, trying to grasp what you're saying, the reports are very long. Inaudible. I'm not speaking for or against, not at all. When we talk about the first sentence, the purpose and future of Pascal Poirier House. So you said that in terms of data collection, there's people are for renovating it and some for demolishing it. It struck me when he said, is the word purpose and future of the Pascal Poirier House, does it bind us to keeping the house, Pascal Poirier House? Is that sentence properly written? That's my question. If the purpose of the site, well, I'm not stating anything definitively here. I'll give you a few examples. They're not examples that we heard. I'm just giving you general examples. So let's say that someone wants to demolish the building, but they want to build something completely new that's a museum that will be 100% devoted to Acadian ancestors, to Pascal Poirier, and so on. Maybe there's a part of the building that's preserved and used within the building, the museum. That could be a nice project, but maybe somebody might say, I want to take the building and I want to convert it to a bed and breakfast, but all of the people who are in it is Pascal Poirier serves you breakfast. It can be as madcap as that. If the idea that is the most appropriate in your mind, at least you'll know what would be done and how it would be presented and how it would go forward. I can't tell you what the best idea is. When you spoke of RFP and the various options, the word purpose and the future, that's okay, I understand.
Merci.
Thank you.
Je pense que le fait qu'on
I think
a
that the fact that
une motion ici de
we have a motion tonight,
qu'on va pas non perdre de vue, c'est
that we
ça qui
won't
est l'important.
lose sight of it, that's
Parce
what's
que
important.
Ça fait déjà beaucoup d'années qu'on
It's been a lot of years that we've been doing research. There's there's consultation, and then we forget about it, and we lose sight of it. I think the importance here is to keep the topic on our radar. Janice is raising a good point. If it's this council, or well, if this council's not ready, the next council, that's fine. But keep it on your board and keep us updated. I think that's the importance. It might not be a deadline that we need, but it's to continue to keep us informed, all of the council informed, and the population. And after that, I'll stop talking. I will say that the first sentence is directly from the strategic plan. It's the item in the strategic plan that the council and staff and the operational plan, the idea was to try a purpose in the future. That was just to put it on context. As madcap as the example I just gave you, both might preserve the heritage, but it's at two different extremes. I think that the groups all have good ideas, but it's up to the council to decide what project is best aligned with the council's desires. Great. Councilor Patricia Brooke-Chevalier, thank you, Your Worship. Yes, you made us read quite a bit this weekend, but that's fine. You made me work a lot. So we're all going to look at the RFPs, and depending on what we see, we'll give it to a group or an organization. I work with nonprofit organizations, and I find that 30 days, it's not a lot. If you want to seek out other partners, be it Heritage Canada, it takes time. If we do trust somebody, I want to make sure that those people have a solid plan, and that in 2 years it won't just fall flat and be put back in the hands of the town. I would push that we get enough time to receive some solid proposals, so that we can make the best decision. It's a long process for nonprofit organizations, and they're all volunteers typically. That's my comment in terms of when you're trying to set a date. It's a good reflection on his instinct. It won't be just 15 days, maybe 60 instead of 30. Great, thank you. Councilor Ronald Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. I don't have the words of Councilor Brooke-Chevalier. I trust the citizens and the groups, the region's groups. We're going to go do an RFP. I think that everything should just be laid out on the table, and we'll see. We'll get what we get, and you will analyze this, and the council will decide at some point. The only thing that makes me a bit hesitant, and I don't see it in the motion, with all due respect to Councilor Boudreau, I don't see that by doing this, that there's a commitment to the town of Shediac that we're going to pay the bill ultimately. Councilor Boudreau seems to be saying it. Councilor Boudreau said he wanted that, but it doesn't. It's not contained here. I just want to make sure that by voting on this, we'll open the RFP, we'll encourage the community to participate, and I'm confident that there are some groups somewhere that will organize themselves and that will get some good ideas to save it or to do something different. But that'll be a decision for later. I don't want to hurry the process. This could take longer than Mr. CAO thinks, or he seems to, based on my small experience at the municipal council, small projects can take a long time. And sometimes I won't list them all, but based on my experience, small projects, simple projects, as I see it, Sometimes it takes longer than I would like it to take. This is complicated. So let's give the chance for the people for the process to work. And if it's a new council, they'll decide then. If I might add, one of the comments that was often been repeated during the consultation period and during the discussions that we had with many people, the responsibility of the building does not only fall upon the municipality. There should be federal, provincial partners at the table. Some people shared some concerns in terms of investment, in terms of other municipal priorities. So we can see that a given group, be it a community group, a private group, a committee that would be formed, there are committed people who really want to see a project go forward. And sometimes we see community projects that gather people together. And I think it could be this type of project that succeeds in lifting mountains, you might say, to seek to get some financing that we can't access or that we just can't access. You see that it expands somewhat the range of potential options. I never said that the municipal contribution would be zero, but the contribution would be determined once the selected project, once there's a selection of a project. The contribution could be an annual grant, it could be a partnership, related to labor. There can cover a lot of aspects. We don't know what the project is. It's clear to us that just renovating a building without having a sense of what might be in it was perhaps not the best way to proceed for the municipality. That's why we want to open it up to the community. Two more have already spoken to the point. You'll be the two last ones. Councillor Paul Boudreau, a last comment. Thank you for going around the table. It reflects the 5 years, 3 years for some, with all that, very respectful. Thank you for the comments, very positive. Mr. CAO, you referred earlier that we'll make sure to keep the house so that won't get worse. And before that, you said we don't have the resources to do it. So what's your strategy? No, I never said we didn't have the resources. We continue to devote money in the budget and ensure that the building doesn't deteriorate anymore. We just won't renovate it for now. If there's a leak or something broken, we will fix it as we do for all our facilities, but we won't be proceeding to a renovation. Not a full renovation. Councillor Patricia Brooke-Chevalier. So in the RFP, it's not necessarily the vocation and what they want to do with it. There'd also be feasibility. Okay, fine. So with all the comments and the questions that we've received, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. A lot of reading, but a good result. Number 15.3, the streets of Pointe-du-Chêne, or this from Councillor McEnroy.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move the following motion, notice of which was given 2 weeks ago to Council. Whereas the publicly traveled private sector roads in Pointe-du-Chêne, Ward 2 of the town of Shediac, require basic maintenance, and whereas neither the province of New Brunswick nor the town of Shediac provide this service, therefore be it resolved that the town of Shediac approves in principle financial assistance for the setup costs of a nonprofit road corporation for the community of Pointe-du-Chêne for the purpose of providing basic road maintenance on the publicly traveled private sector roads in Ward 2, Pointe-du-Chêne, with such corporation having a community-based board of directors and funding from Ward 2 property taxes. Be it further resolved that once the costs of establishing the corporation are determined, this matter be brought back to council for final approval. So move.
So moved by Councillor McEnroy, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin.
If I could,
Please go ahead.
Mayor, I would just like to
Provide some context.
well, not only context, I think it's fairly straightforward in terms of
Yeah.
the request and then the proposal, and it's really not much of a commitment except for council to say to the people of Pointe-aux-Chenes, we have your back, at least in the sense that
Au
we're
moins dans le
prepared to
sens que
support getting something put in place that's going to be able to address the concerns and serious issues that have existed there for decades. With that, though, I'd like to point out, or I know council members are aware, but for the public that may be listening, that the Anglican parish of Shediac has written to the town of Shediac in support of the motion on behalf of the community of Pointe-aux-Chenes, and I would read as follows. As you are aware, the corporation of the Anglican parish owns some, but not all, of the streets in Pointe-aux-Chenes. We would like to express our support for the motion put forward by Harry McEnroy, Pointe-aux-Chenes representative on town council, to establish a Pointe-aux-Chenes Roads Corporation. This initiative would help ensure that all roads within the community receive consistent and appropriate basic maintenance. Since Pointe-aux-Chenes has now been amalgamated under the town of Shediac, an initiative undertaken by the province of New Brunswick, we trust that the provincial property taxes paid by the residents of Pointe-aux-Chenes will be reinvested into the community to improve local road infrastructure. The creation of a dedicated Pointe-aux-Chenes Roads Corporation would provide clear and lasting benefits to local residents. With all roads managed under a single community-focused entity, maintenance needs can be addressed more consistently and efficiently. This structure ensures that decisions about road upkeep are made with the specific interests of Pointe-aux-Chenes residents in mind, leading to safer, better maintained streets and a more coordinated approach to long-term infrastructure planning. Ultimately, this model strengthens local stewardship and helps ensure that the community's tax contributions translate into tangible improvements close to home. As a corporation, we are prepared to transfer ownership of the streets currently under our responsibility to the Pointe-aux-Chenes Roads Corporation upon its inception. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Question. Conseiller Paul Boudreau.
Oui, just thanks, Harry.
Councillor Paul Boudreau aussi se chauffe.
I know there's still a lot of work to do. How do you foresee to staff that commission? Who's people going to sit on that commission?
It would be community residents. It's somewhat premature, but I have been having numerous discussions with the church, its land committee, and the Archdeacon Brent Ham. I have been speaking with representatives of other families who own roads in Pointe-aux-Chenes. And basically what would happen, the corporation would be established. The church has agreed. I don't like to say too much about what we have planned because they're all waiting to see, is council going to support this initiative before they fully commit to next steps. But I did request of the church, since it has a land corporation already, would it be prepared to appoint someone from that land corporation to the first board of directors, if you will, of the Pointe-aux-Chenes Roads Corporation. Otherwise, there will be community residents appointed as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
If I can maybe add, we look at this potential road corporation could be set up just like a Bearland Condo Association or a condominial style association, where they would have a board of directors and would have an annual budget, and they would obviously undertake the work that's needed and whatnot, but it would be sort of like a registered association that ultimately we would, and I mean the municipality would be the vehicle to provide the funds through taxation on those road maintenance. So assuming their budget is X, means that it needs to increase the tax rate by Y. Z would be distributed to the corporation for their maintenance. So we would ultimately be the conduit to collect the funds, but the municipality would be responsible to administer the work. They would just, yeah, that's correct, Harry, if I say that.
Yes.
Sir.
Yeah. Corporation would do the work, do their stuff. Conseiller Roland, Carmi.
Merci.
Councillor Roland.
I just have a few questions.
Oh, switch.
The composition of the committee, should that be approved by council, or is it the community that decides that? And who's the community? Is it the church that's the community?
No.
Is it who's the community?
The community is the residents, the property taxpayers of Ward 2.
Okay.
The church would be being qualifying for that. The church would be part of it, but no, it's not going to be. It's going to be an independent corporation, legally established, to function in the manner in which CAO has described, and it would determine what exactly a basic level of maintenance consists of. It would determine an annual budget, and it basically would determine what kinds of programs, I guess, would be provided for road maintenance in Pointe-aux-Chenes, knowing that whatever the cost of providing that maintenance is, it would be paid by the property taxpayers of Pointe-aux-Chenes.
Would all the property tax of Pointe-aux-Chenes be paying into that corporation? Even those that are, I'm just asking, I don't know. Even though those that are on Gould Beach Road and Billable Beach Road that are already
They're not on private roads.
they're not on private road, would they be able to opt out because they're already paying? Or
There's a few sayings about going one step at a time, and one of them is that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Mm-hmm.
The other is no one that I don't fancy too much, but to eat an elephant, you start with one bite. My approach to this, because there are issues, none of which are insurmountable in my view. But the more you get into the minute detail, early on, and the other thing is, and it's key to the process, is that we will, once we get the estimated cost of establishing the corporation, the solicitor or two, depending on who else participates, and I'm being cautious here because there's a couple of conversations going on that I want to respect the privacy of. Those kinds of things will then be determined, legally what impacts are there with levying. Well, not so much levying a rate, but typically the property taxes of Pointe-aux-Chenes are going to spread across the entire ward. There's nothing that exists now, including the operation of the community center, that isn't collected throughout the entire ward. So right now I see that as being the way to go. But whatever questions come up, we will have legal advice and direction and so on.
And you would see after a budget has been established for maintenance or upgrading or whatever the community decides, that there's a ask from the corporation to the municipality to increase taxes X amount of cents per $100. That's the way you don't see that as a we need this, so charge it, or how would you see that?
Well,
and the elephant
again, it's complicated.
I know.
The Pointe-aux-Chenes Community Center operates, in terms of funding, is funded by an area rate that applies throughout Ward 2. That area rate is higher rate than it was when the community center was initially established. So it's the board of directors in consultation with the community that decides if we're going to put on such and such a service, or if we're going to continue such and such a service at a higher cost due to increased insurance or in whatever else it might be. That amount is then, that budget is submitted. There's consultation with municipal financial staff, of course, because of their expertise, but the funds aren't seen to be coming from any source other than the property taxes paid in Pointe-du-Chien.
And if it's okay to add, so during budget time, you hear us talking about local services and shared services. So shared services are services that are paid by every resident of the municipality. Local services are paid by a specific region or location. We have, I want to say, 6 different taxing authorities in the town of Shediac. Ward 2 is not unique, where it is unique where it has ultimately everybody in that former ward is part of the Pointe-du-Chien Taxing Authority internally as a budget. So we council sets the rate every year as to what the services they want to offer for the municipality, not only on a shared services, but also as a local service. So as Councillor McEnroy specified, every year there is an amount that's provided exclusively from taxpayers of the Pointe-du-Chien Taxing Authority that go to fund operations of the Pointe-du-Chien Community Center. So this would be seen very similarly, although if there would be any changes, we would have to do, if certain, and I would not recommend this, but again, as Councillor McEnroy said, I think that's a path that can eventually be crossed at another later date. I think it's the concept that Councillor McEnroy is looking to promote.
Yep. I'm certainly, thank you for the answers. If there's a way to fix the roads in that particular community and the community is willing to support that process, I think council should be on board. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Essentially, it's a way we can help. Monsieur Patricia Bourg-Chevalier.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. I do agree with this concept. The only thing is right now, isn't it the province that's responsible for the maintenance? So there's nobody at all responsible right now or is it the?
So there are streets currently in Pointe-du-Chien that are the responsibilities of DTI. I have close to 10 that I think are the responsibility of DTI. But any private road that is considered private, there's an actual PID owner. There's somebody who owns that street. That's not the municipality, not the provincial government. It's an individual or the church or a group or an association that owns. So they are responsible as owners of that PID or those private roads to provide the maintenance on those streets. Now, I think you will agree if ever you've spent a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon with an ice cream and drove through those various different streets, they aren't public roads. They are, the level of service is a lot less because that's how property owners, what they can fund. And a lot of these streets were normally a collaboration where families used to own all the cottages and it was an easy driveway. But today it's no longer families that are owning specific regions. It's different people from different areas that are now owning these. And it becomes a bit complicated as to, well, I pay my taxes. Why isn't the road maintained in front of my house? Fortunately, it's a private road. It's not a public road. So none of your tax dollars actually fund that street. I think the concept floated by Councillor McEnroy could provide solutions to those private roads. It wouldn't be to the municipality to manage other than the financial portion of funding the corporation.
But that doesn't mean you're going to not work with DTI for the streets that are owned?
Well, that's another card up my sleeve.
Everything that's currently owned by DTI, I believe the corporation would want to continue to see them.
Continue to.
Absolutely,
By
absolutely.
DTI. I
And
think it's mostly the private roads that is the
yeah,
conversation.
exactly.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Good. So, on that matter, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Got additional work to do, Councillor McElroy. Numéro 15.4.
15.4, Environment Committee. So it comes after like a notice of motion from Janice Cormier. So Janice Cormier, and then found a second, and then you can give the background. Whereas environment is one of the pillars of the town of Shediac's 2025-27 strategic plan. Whereas an environment committee has been established to support the implementation of the environment pillar priorities in the operational plan, supporting the 25-27 strategic plan. Be it resolved that the municipal council explore and implements the most appropriate mechanism to integrate meaningful citizen participation within the environment committee in support of the priority of the 2025-2027 strategic plan. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by
Councillor Harry McElroy.
Councillor Harry McElroy.
Donner plus d'explications?
Would you like to give more information? As I mentioned the last time, like we had a meeting of the environment committee, like to talk about the pesticides, like before the holidays, and because of the strategic plan, it changed a little bit, like the operation of this committee. But Business Commission, we had discussion that it would still be important, like to continue the involvement of this the citizen, because we have like an internal environment committee that takes care of the strategic plan. We would like to see like council will decide, but still we have a council, like the safety committee. So we have individuals they're coming to different sessions or meeting, like to bring their knowledge or their specialty, but we just want to make sure, like to see like this participation, to make sure, like to help us support this pillar. Is it clear? Yes, I have question.
Councillor McElroy, question.
Councillor McElroy.
I just want to add that as chair of the Environment Committee, I certainly support. I'm glad the motion came forward, and I'm happy to support it. And I do believe that there are residents for sure who could provide constructive input and generate positive outcomes in terms of moving forward in our goals and objectives in accordance with the strategic plan. So I just want to say I think it's a good move. Thank you.
Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will support also like the Councillor Cormier's motion. I was wanted to form like establish environment committee a few years ago with the citizens. So we have committed citizens, our community, and they want like to see the wellness of the municipality in terms of our environment. And I think we should encourage them. And some of them so they should continue to do a great municipality and make it make more like an environmental friendly as much as possible. So I don't know, like it seems positive, but I hope the council will support this. Councillor Patricio Bourque-Chevalier. So I was looking at the priorities in our strategic plan, and we're not talking about pesticides. So do we add another priority to the strategic plan, or?
OK, c'est elle qu'elle a parlé de pesticides.
Yeah, because she talked about pesticide. So we said like for the committee, but the committee would be to look at these like at those strategic plans. So
Si je peux ajouter, écoute, le
if
comité
I may add, like the
va
committee
donner des
can
recommandations
choose
au conseil. Comme les autres comités.
as like the other committees, but
Le comité pourrait influencer
so the committee
les
could
décisions ou les prochaines directions
influence the decisions of
que le conseil puis
that the council and the administration also is working on. So it would not necessarily be the three, but this is the plan. But except like there's a modification of the plan following a recommendation. That's what we're working on. Like so it will come to the council.
Comme qu'on a souvent dit, si
As we said often, if we decide to add anything to the strategic plan,
dans la semaine, là,
there's not more hours, so we have to remove something.
ça, c'est ça que le conseil doit décider.
So this is what the council has to decide if they ever want to
Mais c'est juste
move it.
pourrait. Oui, le conseil
C'est
veut
possible,
modifier.
Yes, we.
C'est bien.
Pas de limitation.
There is no limitation. Councillor Roland,
Avec tout le respect que j'ai pour toi, M. le maire,
with all due respect,
moi, je partage pas la même opinion.
I'm not
que
sharing the
toi,
same
là.
opinion like you are.
C'est qu'on a un ajoutien, on a l'autre bien.
If we had one, we have to remove one.
L'année dernière, cette année, on
Last year,
on
like,
a ajouté
we
une personne de
added
plus dans l'administration.
a person of
Une
the
personne de plus,
and the person
une
Directrice
députée
générale adjointe.
she was like
puis
she's
on
the
a vendu l'idée
deputy
qu'on
director,
allait
and we sold the
chercher
idea that we
beaucoup
would
plus
get like
d'argent de toutes les
more money like from all the organization.
On a vendu l'idée que elle
And
allait aider
we
le
sold the
chef
idea like
pompier.
she would help like the fire chief,
On a quand même
and we still had
une employée qui travaille à la
we have an
semaine.
employee like she's
Je
working
pense que
with-
si qu'on
and I
juge
think
que c'est important
and
qu'on l'ait,
if we feel like it's important to have her,
je crois qu'on peut trouver
I think
à
we
l'intérieur du budget.
we can find within the budget like
Ça, c'est- moi,
if
je
the
parle
budget
pas
decides. So
d'opinion.
I'm not
C'est
sharing
des
the
ajoutants,
opinion
on
like
ajoute.
if we had one, we have to
C'est des
remove
gros,
one, but
oui, peut-être, ben, si
yes,
c'est petit,
but if it's smaller
dans
ones,
cette discussion-là,
we
si
will have
le
this
comité
discussion like
d'environnement
if
est
the
créé,
environment
puis
committee is
si le comité
created
vient avec
and
quelque
if the
chose
committee
qu'ils veulent implémenter,
comes with something they
moi,
want
je
to
pense qu'on
implement.
devrait-
I don't
on devrait tout
don't
rester
think
capable,
like
on devrait pas non-
we should leave all the cards on the table. We should not remove too many like before we go
Le
there,
personnel a le temps de
because I think the staff
C'est
has
pas-
enough time
je
to
pense
work
pas
on
que
this.
c'est
Like
ça.
I don't think it's something full time.
2 réunions dans 3 ans. Là.
So we had 2 meetings in 1 year, so
Ça.
I don't think it's that demanding.
Monsieur le
Merci,
préfet.
merci, conseiller Cormier.
Thank you,
Moi,
Councillor
moi,
Cormier.
Je vais mettre mon chapeau de...
I will wear my hat,
mais celui de directeur
not
de
the
communication.
clerk, but the communication
Dans le passé,
director.
on faisait des
In the
campagnes,
past, we were
actives pour
doing
faire,
like
par exemple,
active campaign,
no
like to
May,
talk
on
about
fait
no
ça,
more in May.
on coupe
Like
pas les gazons au mois
we
de
do
mai,
not
on
mow
peut
your
faire
lawn in May.
énormément de
We
travail
can do
en
like a
route
lot of
également.
work, like for an environment,
Je pense que
for
ça peut
communication,
venir
and I
de
think
ça,
it
par
could
exemple.
come from this
Ça, c'est mon
committee.
opinion de ce côté-là.
So
On va
this
faire
is
de
my
plus en
opinion,
plus
but
des
we're looking more
bonnes histoires à
to
parler,
get
à
good
échanger, des
stories to
bons
exchange.
organismes
There are good
d'information.
organization.
Il y avait une
We
campagne même
information.
dans
There was a
laquelle
marketing
des
campaign that was
années qui a
developed
jamais
over
été
the
mis en
last
œuvre.
year. It
Je
was
pense qu'il y a
never
beaucoup de choses
implemented,
qu'on peut faire de
and
plus.
there's a
Ça,
lot
c'est
of
mon
things we
petit
can
grain
do.
de sel par rapport
So
à ça.
this is my little grain of salt.
Parfait. Donc, sur ce,
So on this note, can I specify something? Councillor Cormier said, no, we're not creating a new committee. There's already like a committee. So we're not creating a new committee. We'll use like the committee we have in place,
La population.
and we'll add also like the member of the population on this committee.
Merci.
sur ce, tous en faveur, on dira oui.
All in favor, signify saying aye.
Non.
Against nay,
Adopté.
it's been carried.
Les autres ont posé les mêmes questions que j'avais.
So others has the same question I had.
Je ne vais pas répéter une question, j'ai déjà réponse.
He said didn't want to repeat a question. He already had the answer. So
Numéro 15.5.
15.5, historic site of Cap-Bimet.
Veux-tu donner...
Would you like
pas
to-
une motion, but-
It's not a motion, but It was a motion.
Oui, excuse-moi, c'est moi qui m'ai.
Sorry, like you said. Yeah, I was talking about Pascal, the Pascal Poirier. Overload.
Conseiller Paul Boudreau.
OK.
Councillor Paul Boudreau.
La motion, on l'appuiera, puis ensuite on...
So if you read the motion and then we'll try to, just a brief introduction. So we got the correspondence and we had the comments like with the concern, and I respect also like the input. I'm presenting this muffin to make some progress on this, especially for it's a regional project and it's also like a heritage project. So whereas like a group of local citizens has mobilized to preserve the historic site of Boudreau Cemetery located in Quebec, whereas the cultural policy of the town of Shediac aims to recognize, protect, and promote places of historical interest, and several descendants of Shediac citizens are buried in the cemetery. Given that the neighboring community as well as several individuals and businesses have already contributed to the project, be it resolved that a contribution of $10,000 from the Council Special Project Account 1-28253 be granted by the town of Shediac to support this conservation project. Moved by Councillor Paul Boudreau, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette. Question on the motion. Councillor Peter Brault. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that we should definitely adopt it. I think it would be a sacrilege not to participate to this project, especially like we have descendants from the town of Shediac, and we have to keep them outside of our band. And I think $10,000 is a very little for what they can get. I'm certainly in favor of this resolution, a motion. Thank you, Councillor Brault. No other questions or comments? All in favor saying aye. Against nay? Carried. Thank you. We have no appointments to committee. Next meeting will be on February 17th, which is a Tuesday because on the Monday, it's a family day. On this note, I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Jean-Mène Galland. Have a good rest of the evening.